Welcome to Teletalk. I'm Liv.
And I'm Ben.
And on this episode, you'll hear our carefully considered and not at all random thoughts on a show we like. There will be spoilers.
We're giving ourselves an age rating of 15 and above, but you're welcome to make up your own mind. Listener discretion is advised.
And if you're enjoying our podcast, please do rate, review and subscribe. It really, really means a lot to us.
And you can contact us on our socials. We're at TeletalkPod on Blue Sky and on Facebook. And you can email us at teletalkpod@outlook.com if you want to send us some info or make a request or just tell us we're great.
Yes, all compliments well received. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So today we are recapping Gavin and Stacey, Season 2, Episode 3.
It's the third time we're here for this season.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with
I
that.
was wondering where I was going with that
Digging
too.
yourself a nice little hole.
A big hole in Essex, because this episode, Stacey is getting used to being an Essex wife, but it is not as exciting as she'd hoped. Smithy goes with Nessa for the first scan and they glimpse their baby.
I can hear our dog whining and howling and whimpering because he has been left alone for the briefest of moments.
Yeah. He's got so needy.
He's so needy.
He's got real Stacey energy.
Oh my gosh.
If he was a girl dog, we should have called him Stacey.
As it is, his name is Bruno. He needs
Bruno-
to chill out.
Bruno Balluno.
Bruno Balluno.
This is what happens when you let kids name dogs. Anyway, we start off this episode with Gavin at work calling Stacey. Classic.
I know, back to the old classic. It was quite nice, wasn't it?
It was actually. And then we see Stacey is still in bed at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, what got me is that at this point she's quite surprised that it's 11 and that she slept for nearly, 12 hours or 11
She said nearly
hours?
11 hours.
Yeah, and then later on she tells Pam that she'd set an alarm. Right, well, don't be surprised then.
She's got big Stacey energy.
Yeah.
I observed the opened and empty beer bottles stacked along the head of the bed.
It's a very Gavin thing.
Yeah, it's a very lads room.
Yeah. It's like notches on the bedpost, isn't it? It's beer cans on the headboard.
Yeah, it's less hedonistic and more grim.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just, for once, I actually feel for Stacey, because I can see why she might not feel like it's her room.
Yeah, there's not much Stacey in that room, is there?
No, Stacey is many things, but she is not a empty beer bottles on the head of the bed sort of person, I don't
Yeah,
think.
she's very pink and purple and bang on the door.
Yes.
Do you remember that? You have a sister. Do you remember bang on the door?
No.
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 It's that brand of stuff that, like, all the girls had.
Okay.
Okay.
It tells you how down with the girls I was as a lad. Not very.
young girl, like,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, this took a turn.
I know. Well, it's still Stacey's vibe, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Stacey is allegedly job hunting. Having a job is not her vibe.
No, she's got another rejection letter, and she says, I can't even get the jobs I don't want.
But she immediately blames it because she's Welsh and everyone's racist.
Yeah, well, could be.
Could it? I enjoyed the reference to loose women. That's the classic, oh, you're unemployed telly reference.
Yeah, that's daytime telly at its best.
Yes, it is. But she will go and apply for more right now after Loose Women.
Yeah.
So, urgent. And then we get credits, and Pam has come back from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And Stacey's gone from lying in the bed to lying on the sofa.
Yeah.
What I did like about this, though, is that we're seeing quite a nice friendship develop between Pam and Stacey.
Yes.
They're having, like, a right proper conversation as if they're best friends.
Well, and it mirrors the, shall we say, directness and open honesty that, say, Stacey and Nessa have. Because Pam tells Stacey to get a life because her story that she was telling her was so boring.
Really boring.
She was telling her about brunch.
Yeah, because Stacey said that she got up so late that she'd missed breakfast, but it wasn't time for lunch, so she just had a banana. But she was still hungry, so then she had some cereal and something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. And she ends up saying, so I had a brunch. And she phoned her mum and told her all about it.
If you have watched the episode, we're sorry that Liv is now recounting it yet again. To be fair, I think Pam was probably in a bad mood because Sue walloped her at jiu-jitsu.
Sue, Big Fat Sue.
Big Fat Sue, yeah. And to be fair, from someone who has done a lot of martial arts, that will happen.
Yeah.
You will get crocked one. But then Pam's later talking about fencing. I'm like, Pam does a lot of combat-oriented hobbies.
Yeah, that's true.
I think she's got a lot of steam to let off.
Maybe they're just the hobbies that happen during the day.
How mental or like manic do you think Pam would be if she didn't have these outlets for her physical aggression?
Oh my God, so manic. But now they're gossiping about Smithy and Lucy.
Yes, but then she's interrupted, or they're interrupted, because Nessa has to ring to ask about this brunch.
Oh, what's this I hear about a brunch?
News travels fast. About the most mundane of things.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed how effectively pointless this phone call was.
Well, hang on a minute. I just want to go back to the brunch.
Okay.
Because Stacey has obviously gone to the effort of telling her mum and then Pam.
Uh-huh.
Now we know that Gwen has told Nessa and Nessa has phoned Stacey about the brunch. Now the brunch that Stacey had was in fact the worst brunch of all time.
Okay.
Wasn't it?
I guess.
A random mix of food? That's not a brunch.
Oh, okay.
Most people, when they're having brunch, I mean, they might even have Prosecco, but there's bacon, eggs, sausages, croissants, other pastries, baked beans.
Liv, I'm going to be honest with you. You need to get a life. That was really boring. Like, paralytically boring.
Nice callback.
You set me up for it, deliberately, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
But yeah, Nessa shouts, "Oh," repeatedly at some lads, points at a Welsh sign. They don't know what it means.
Well,
No
this
one
is
does.
this is Nessa's end, isn't it?
Yeah. And then she makes Stacey hang on for ages, and you think you're going to get a culmination to all of this. And then it's just Nessa going, "Yeah, sorry, got to go, wham."
It's mayhem down here.
Yeah. They do this a lot, actually, don't they? They set you up with like this sort of quiet tension of some sort of scene, usually on a phone. And they keep you hanging and keep you hanging. And you just think that there's going to be a punchline or a payoff, and it's just them going, "Yeah, sorry, bye."
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, what I liked about this was when she's quite angry at these lads and she goes, "What does that sign say?" And it's completely all in Welsh. And so they sort of shrug their shoulders at her. And then she reads it in Welsh.
Does she? I thought she just said "sling your hook."
No, she reads what the sign says.
Oh, yeah, but then doesn't translate it for us.
She doesn't translate it, no. We can assume it means don't rock the machines.
But I thought that Glenn Powell was the only one that could speak Welsh, but it turns out Nessa can speak Welsh.
She can speak that sign.
She can speak arcade sign
And as you
Welsh.
say, she just goes, at them for ages, and it goes on a lot longer than you expect.
Out of interest,
Yeah.
is 90% of this podcast episode going to be you recounting lines from the episode?
Oh!
I point to the sign in Welsh on our wall and it says, "Move on." Because we cut to Gavin at work. Now, I love this because he gets a phone call and you're like, well, this is obviously going to be Stacey because
Yeah.
she's just been hung up on. And it's not. And then...
It's an actual colleague, and he's talking work stuff.
Yeah, you get to see him do competent work things. And then he looks up and sees that there's someone there and you go, oh, well, that'll be Stacey.
Yes.
And it's not.
No.
It's Smithy.
Yeah.
In full-on Smithy things.
Ooh, this is embarrassing. This is
Yeah.
really embarrassing.
Yeah, it's not often that you want to crawl out of your own skin in sympathy, but oof.
Smithy is crying loudly and unapologetically on Gavin's shoulder in front of everyone.
The horror.
Yeah.
The horror on Gavin's face.
And Gavin just tries to get them to go to the canteen for a coffee as quickly as he possibly
And we
can.
just go somewhere else, anywhere else, so I can shut you up. And when they're in the calf, I really enjoyed that Gavin's got a tea, and Smithy has a blue Powerade in a cup. He's got his half a bottle with its sports cap on it, and he's obviously sprayed it out into his cup, and it's just wonderfully absurd.
I just thought it was the most blue drink I've ever seen, and I am comparing it to Blue Wicked.
Yeah, it's blue Powerade. It was de rigueur for young lads at the time.
Right, I
Yeah.
see.
But it's a sports bottle. It's like Lucasade Sport, so it's in a sports cap. So it is absurd to put it in a little plastic cup.
Oh, right.
I'm fixated on this.
You are, yeah, like I was with the brunch. Smithy is very upset because he's finally told Lucy that he's having a baby with someone else, and she's not bothered at all because she's been having an affair for the last 3 months.
An affair makes it sound a bit grander than I think it was.
Well, she brought him guilt sweets.
Guilt
sweets. She was definitely hiding something.
This is the first and possibly only time that the concept of guilt sweets has been coined. I love it.
And Smithy then says that he's considering suicide.
How many Nurofen do you think it would take to do me in?
You'd need hundreds.
Oh, well, I can't afford that.
Not if I'm going to have a holiday this year.
I mean, it's about as tasteful a joke about suicide as I think you can get.
Yes, and it's about the right level for Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah, and it's very clear that he's not serious.
Yes, definitely. And then that's the end of the scene, so we don't have time to dwell on it.
Yeah, and that's nice. And we cut to Bryn and Nessa in a booth at the arcade having a chat.
I loved this.
Yeah, I thought you might. They discuss people watching and they're drinking slushies.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Nessa's is fully melted. It's just red liquid, whereas Bryn's, because he's actually got a drink out of it, is fresh. So they've obviously been filming this for a bit. Hers is melted, but because we actually see Bryn have a sip, they've refreshed his.
Right.
I was going to say movie facts, but just, little things I notice about continuity.
Boring. That is really boring. Bryn wants to ask about the penny falls. He's asking if they're magnetised, if they're cheating in some way.
Glued.
Yeah. And Nessa won't tell him. And he goes, I know. If you told me, then you'd have to kill me. And she goes, no, I just don't want to.
And then out of nowhere, out of the furthest of left fields, they start practising a song.
This was the best bit.
It is... Yeah, it's just so odd.
Well, Bryn's like, are we going to practice or what? Or was that Nessa?
No.
One of them says it. And so then they break into a lovely rendition of Something Stupid. And then I go and spoil it all. You don't need me singing it. But I thought this was...
I love you.
Yes, thank you, Ben. I thought this was Nicole Kidman and Robbie Williams until I looked it up. And it's actually Frank Sinatra and his wife.
I said, well, like the same level, right?
Yeah, I only knew about the Nicole Kidman version.
I feel like that might say something about
I
you,
think
Liv.
it does, yep.
Nothing good.
Yep.
You're
But they
all
have
class.
some lovely harmonising, and I thought it was quite a good practice.
Would you say it was better than Sinatra?
I don't think I've heard the original, so I can't possibly comment.
Was it Robbie-esque?
Oh, definitely Robbie-esque.
Yeah. And then we cut to the Shipmans for a thorough good gossiping around the dinner table.
Yes.
Long-suffering Mick. Again.
But Stacey is listening to Pam and hanging off her every word.
Yeah, there's a real, really on-the-nose juxtaposition of Pam and Mick, Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
We've talked about Gavin has married his mum
Yeah.
in Stacey, and never was it more stark than this scene, and I'm fairly sure that was the point.
Because otherwise it's quite a boring scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we get a juicy bit of gossip about someone having a lesbian affair with the head teacher of their school and then litigation.
That's Smithy's mum.
Oh, yeah, Smithy's mum.
Yeah, that's who they're talking about.
I mean, to be fair, that does explain a lot, because there seems like there is the dramas.
Oh, yeah.
El Dramaro.
Yeah, and at the end, because Mick tries to shut it all down, and at the end, Pam just mouths to Stacey, it's true.
Mick tries to shut it down, and Pam is not having it.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Gavin and Stacey pulling up at Smithy's house to pick him up.
Yeah, but Smithy's not there. Rudy answers the door and lets them in, and they all do the robot. I say they all. Just Rudy and Gavin do the robot.
They're looking for Smithy, but they find Smithy.
Yeah.
Smith the sister.
And then Stacey's introducing herself and talking about something or other. And then Rudy gets a phone call and just answers it, completely ignoring Stacey.
I love how well they've made Rudy be just like Smithy.
Yeah.
Like, so many things that are similar, even down to when he comes downstairs, they're both dressed
The same.
almost identically.
Yeah, I made a note of that.
It's brilliant. I love that they bicker and she's like... Smithy tries to get Gavin to weigh in.
Well, hang on. Smithy comes into the room and tries to do the robot, and Gavin's not joining in, and he's like, "Oh, I've already done that."
Do you remember where the robot's from?
Oh, something about football.
It's football.
Stupid football.
But yeah, he doesn't do the robot with him, and he gets very upset.
In only the way that Smithy can. And I think that's what instigates this fight, isn't it, between Rudy and Smithy?
It's very combat heavy, this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, they proper get into a fight, because Smithy tries to get Gavin on side, saying that's our thing. And Gavin's like, I don't think we invented robotics.
That's right. And then we get a very typical brother-sister argument.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Been there.
That descends into physical combat.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Rudy's left on her own, I think, and she makes a phone call and she's like, just totally had a fight with my brother.
I found it a bit uncomfortable because right at the end, when they finish, Smithy gets up and chucks Rudy down. She proper bonks her back of her head on the floor. I'm like, ooh.
As part of their fight.
Yeah, but it looked real. Like, I think he just chucked her and she went crack.
Oh,
so I'm
really?
Like, ooh. Ooh.
They might have just got a really good stunt double and a nice
I don't
bounce
think you
pad
can
thing.
stunt bonking your head on a carpeted floor like that. It was a proper thunk. And I'm just like, oh,
Well, I
James
didn't notice
Corden.
I didn't notice that.
I did, and it was disgraceful. They leave.
Yeah.
And we cut to a pan across Barry.
Yes.
Lovely.
And now Gwen's on the phone to Stacey.
Oh, God, yet another dull phone conversation. Nessa with her feet up on the table. Not okay.
This is at Gwen's house.
Yep.
Nessa has well and truly moved in and made herself comfortable.
A classic thing of everyone just taking Gwen for granted.
Yeah.
Ugh. Poor Gwen. But yeah, they start discussing finances and the Dow Jones and the different stock markets, and it's tremendously boring.
And Gwen thinks that Nessa should wait for Tokyo to open.
Yeah.
Something about stock markets.
But my ears perked up when Bryn arrives and starts talking about MySpace.
I know.
Now,
He's been updating his MySpace, and now he has 17 friends.
now, you see, to us, that sounds like it's a joke about him being really out of the time. But I did some research because
Right.
I was like, how was this a joke about him being behind the times? But actually, at the time, 2008, when this episode airs, was the exact peak of MySpace.
Was it really?
It was the height. It had 115 million monthly users. It peaked in April 2008. And Facebook was just emerging.
Yeah, because I joined Facebook. When did I join Facebook? 2006, I think.
Yeah. So you were an early adopter of Facebook.
I was
but-
early in Facebook, but I never had
Oh,
MySpace.
I had MySpace and all the dramas of the top friends and everything. But now, like, younger listeners are not going to know what the hell that's all about. All that reference to my top friends and top and everything like that.
Well, it was quite exclusionary, wasn't it?
It was. But,
Facebook, you could just have all the friends and people could write on your wall.
yeah, but back in the day, things could be exclusionary without people's feelings being hurt.
No, you just talked about the drama of the top friends.
Yes. Oh, it was the MySpace equivalent of It's Complicated on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, you're not in my top 8 friends. No.
Anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, that was actually a joke about him being with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Context is key. See, this is what you come to us for, the thorough research. Yeah, Bryn has to go and get a pump from his boot.
For the airbed.
He meant to bring it, and he's reminded the moment his arse hits that sofa, and he's bounced back straight up again and out again. I've been there so many times. Oh,
And as he's at the
beautiful.
boot getting this pump, Gavin, Stacey and Smithy arrive.
And Bryn embraces them in the middle of the road.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? It's not a busy road. They've closed it off for filming.
I mean, I don't... That hurt me.
Smithy's staying at Bryn's, and Bryn informs him that he's going to be on the sofa because the spare room is now a gym.
He's the new David Lloyd.
Yeah, I like that.
Doris gets in on the act.
Oh my God, Doris.
She propositions Gavin a treat.
Yes, I'm very open-minded and discreet.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you are going to be open-minded, it's good to be discreet.
Yeah.
I love that we see another horrified / baffled, exasperated reaction shot from Gavin, and that's a recurring theme throughout.
Yeah. But Doris gets invited over for their fish and chip dinner.
Too right.
So that's going to be fun for later.
And then we cut to Gavin and Stacey walking back from the chippy across Barry Arcade.
Yeah.
And we get another instance of Stacey being insufferable.
Oh, I was going to say, lovey-dovey, let's move on.
No, because he's being lovey-dovey, but she doesn't remember the significance. She forgets who said what. She does not give a shiny shit.
She is just happy to be back in Barry.
Yeah, that's a kind way of putting it.
Yeah.
So annoying. Anyway, cut to Gwen's house. Nessa, Gwen and Doris are there.
Yeah,
and
talking about Doris's daughter.
Yeah.
Because she's telling Nessa that she's a fool for carrying on with the pregnancy. You're a fool. And then she says she was horrible, wasn't she, Gwen? Talking about her own daughter. And Gwen goes, yeah, right, nasty piece of work.
Sometimes I just hated her.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I love how they're going counter to the usual that you'd expect.
I know.
It really stood out.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, food!
Food arrives.
And I enjoyed that you had Smithy and Nessa just had the same order.
Same, yeah. 3 battered sausages.
And a large chips.
And a large chips. But who was it? Nessa has curry sauce.
Yeah, she's Welsh.
Because she's Welsh.
Because she's Welsh.
But you have curry sauce.
I do, but
and
I'm
you're
not
Welsh.
No.
No.
Oh, we're just revealing all sorts of information about ourselves.
I have Welsh ancestry.
Do you?
Yeah, and there's a monument in Carmarthen dedicated to one of my ancient...
Yeah, it's a big pile of chips covered in curry sauce.
No. I went to see it and it was quite boring. I thought it would be like a statue of a person, but it's not. It's just a monument.
A monument of big chips.
No.
To be fair, that would be awesome though.
Oh my god, I'm never talking to you again.
With a big seagull.
Anyway.
Sorry.
What? No, you go.
Well, I wonder because, like, obviously in the UK, we know that there are significant regional differences in food, but particularly around chips, fish and chips.
Yeah.
With the curry sauce and the gravy. And or not, like, it's all regional.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's true, like, elsewhere in the world, like in America. Do they have a single food stuff that everyone goes, you in Louisiana have your, I don't know, corn dogs this way,
right.
but in Mississippi they do it another way, and then there's rivalry. Is it a thing like that?
I have no idea.
I was really reaching for that.
I know you were.
But genuinely, if anyone's listening, please let me know if in your locale, wherever you're from, if it's not the UK, do you have that sort of like food-based rivalry? I know Australia and New Zealand fight over who claims pavlova.
Yeah, but they are different countries.
Yes.
Whereas you're talking about regions within a country.
Well, true, but I'll take what I can get.
Okay.
Reach out.
Or not.
teletalkpod@outlook.com.
Bryn awkwardly makes the lads hold his pecs.
Apparently they're quite firm.
And then Stacey declares that Doris is dead.
Good old Stacey.
And Nessa just goes, oh, door. She doesn't wake up, but Gwen gives her a little nudge.
Plainly, Doris wakes up horny.
Yeah, well, she's decided that she's tired and asks Gavin to walk her home, bearing in mind it's literally one house away and they're terraced houses.
And he's doing his best to be accompanied, to be escorted.
He says, Stace, do you want to come?
No.
And she goes, why? It's only next door.
And he looks so afraid.
Yeah.
Quite right, too.
Then Nessa laments not smoking.
Midway through her food.
Her and Stacey say that she normally has 2 sausages, then a fag, then a 3rd sausage.
Mm-hmm. And we cut to Gavin dropping Doris off and trying to get away.
Yep. He runs.
He literally is.
Literal running.
After she tries to persuade him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he legs it. And then we cut to the next morning as they're discussing the scan that day.
And they're sat in this airbed that Stacey had been so upset about.
Stacey is so entitled yet again. She just assumes she's going to be godmother.
Well, she probably is, though.
Yeah, but it's an assumption, isn't it? It's just not right. It's not honest. It's not British. Outrageous.
But it does indicate her pure excitement for Nessa.
Does she? Do we ever find out whether she is the godmother?
Yes. Yeah, because there's a christening in... When's the christening? Next season?
I don't know.
There is a christening.
And is she godmother?
I think so, but we'll have to pay a bit more attention.
We are going to forget by then. But yeah, good. So we solved that.
Gavin goes to get Smithy ready for breakfast because they're all going to eat together. And then Nessa arrives.
And we cut to quite a scene.
Yes, we do. I love this scene.
Smithy and Bryn, topless and sweaty, groaning.
They are working out in Bryn's new home gym.
And boy, is Bryn in the zone.
Yeah, but I do just want to say, you mentioned topless, yes, but Smithy's wearing his jeans.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to.
But, yeah, Gavin later asks why they're topless, and he says, well, I didn't want to get my clothes sweaty.
Yeah.
Oh, but your jeans are fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry about that.
Well, you know, jeans are impervious to anything, but I love how Bryn has his gym set up, because it's sort of, it's on carpet, and it's still obviously in a room, but it's all battered old equipment.
Oh, I didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
like the weight bench is battered to hell, but he's got all of the health and safety posters on the wall.
Oh my gosh, I haven't noticed
Oh
this.
yeah, I was looking. He's got like the medical posters for like injuries on the wall, all the proper things you'd have from the gym. So it's all set up. He's got a first aid kit on a little shelf on the wall.
Well, it is Bryn. He doesn't really do things by halves.
He's got an old battered leather pair of ancient boxing gloves hung up on the clothes peg with his coats on the wall. It's just little things like that only weirdos like me would notice.
It helps set the scene.
It sure does.
I thought that his pep talk to Smithy was really good.
You can't go over it. You can't go under it. We're going to have to go through it. We're going on a sweat hunt. That's for all the parents out there.
Where does the term pep come from?
I don't know. Should have looked it up.
You don't know?
No.
But you do know these things.
It's okay. It's from pepperoni talk, because a pepperoni talk would inspire you because you'd want pizza afterwards, and so it's pep or pepperoni talk from the from Italy.
Okay. Yep. Anyway, let's leave that there. I have so many. No.
Gavin has to switch off the delightful music to get them to stop.
Yeah, and then Smithy goes, how's it going, Gavlar? You all right?
Gavlar!
As in, that's how the Welsh all seem to greet each other, isn't it?
But no, he and Gav greet Smith Star, Gavlar.
Yeah, but it's that phrase.
What?
It's the phrase.
What phrase?
The phrase that Smithy uses to greet Gavin is the same phrase that all the Welsh characters use to greet each other.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
How's it going, Stace? All right? How's it going, Gav? You all right?
I hadn't picked up on that.
No, I completely went over your head even when I said it out loud.
I was too busy looking at the posters. But yeah, I love that Bryn sort of starts the warm down because he's looking after Smithy. And then he gets a phone call, so he has to get Gavin to do the stretching. And as soon as Bryn steps out of the room, Gavin chucks his leg down.
I know, but Smithy was well into it.
Yes.
He has bought everything that Bryn has been selling.
Including the plankton drink for breakfast. That.
Delicious.
Look, I loved his...
Is it?
I loved his milk moustache, but green. And what was good, a little subtle thing, Smithy has no idea what it is. Because when Gavin says, what's that? Bryn says plankton, but at the same time, Smithy says seaweed. So he's got no idea. So I enjoyed that. But we then cut to Smithy, Nessa, Gavin and Stacey at the hospital in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Did you notice the little Easter egg here?
What Easter egg?
The couple that were called before.
Oh, no, I didn't.
They called Ruth Jones.
Oh, did they?
Which is Nessa's actress's name.
Yeah.
So yeah, they called Ruth, and she's got quite a Welsh name, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a little Easter egg I noticed.
Oh.
This will be where someone goes back and goes, it wasn't Ruth Jones, actually, you got it wrong. You heard what you want to hear. But for the purposes of this, it's facts.
Just before we leave this scene, Stacey is playing the baby guessing game. So she's trying to guess the sex of all the babies that the women are having who are still pregnant. And Gavin points out that she'll never know the answer. And she goes, no, but I have to make that up too. So far, I've got 3 right and 2 wrong.
Baffling.
Baffling, but this seems to be something that Gavin really loves her for.
Yeah, it's something.
I thought it was cute.
He's long-suffering. He's just like his dad.
No, this is cute.
You could definitely see Pam doing this game.
Yes.
Yeah. And just, I love that also that Smithy didn't know Nessa's surname.
No.
Just
Why
lovely.
would he?
Well, yeah. It's not like they've done anything particularly intimate or anything. But we move on to Nessa and Smithy in the scan room, and we have a beautifully awkward interchange where Smithy will just not accept that they can move on and be like...
But they're both
chill.
the same, because the sonographer says, "Oh, are you Mr. Jenkins?" And he says, "No." "Oh, sorry, are you something?" I can't remember. And he's like, "No." "Oh, just friends then." And they both go, "No, I wouldn't say we're friends." She's like, "But you are the father." "Yeah,
Yes.
right, okay."
This is all just one big massive mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
And she deals with it as a champ.
She
Just like, yep,
does.
all right, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And we go back to Stacey and Gavin talking about babies and dogs.
Yeah, Stacey shoehorning a dog into their life.
And they've got to have a house first.
Yeah, it's quite romantic, and they do a lot of laughing.
It's sort of infuriating in its own way. Again, Stacey being Stacey. But yeah, it's weird. I guess it's normal but weird but normal.
I think that your issues with Stacey are hampering your ability to enjoy some of these scenes.
I do feel like he ends up sort of ending that conversation by treating her quite childlike, by being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and tickling her. I don't know, it just felt a bit infantile.
Yeah, but it's also flirty.
Okay.
So she's obviously taking it as flirty.
Yeah, again, also, it's the sort of thing you could see Mick doing to Pam, so...
No.
Yeah. But we move to our final brief scene of the episode.
Yes.
Where it's suddenly not funny, it's sentimental.
This is a very hard-hitting end of episode, isn't it?
Yes.
Because they're watching the baby on the screen, and the sonographer says, "Makes it all seem real now, doesn't it?" And they both very emotionally say, yeah.
And we cut
at
to
the
credits.
same time. Yeah.
But we did get, just before that, I noticed that the stenographer says, "Nice healthy size," and they sort of both give each other a slightly knowing look.
Oh, and I also wanted to talk about the chair, the bed thing that Nessa's on.
The hospital bed?
Yeah, because she's on it, and then the sonographer makes it go down, and she sits so still and rigid, like she's a statue, and just moves down without changing her eyes.
Yeah.
It's so funny, and it goes down for ages.
And Smithy's just looking around going, right, looking really impatient.
Yeah, but I was saying the chair goes down for ages, as I was saying earlier at the beginning of the episode, where things go on for too long.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then it stops. And then it continues going down again for a little bit.
Just when you think you're done, you're not quite done.
Yeah.
But we
That's
are
it.
done.
That's it. That's the end of the episode.
Well, I'd like to invite you to rate it first.
Okay. I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yep. For me, it was fun. It was funny, and it had a bit of everything, but it wasn't overly memorable as an episode on its own.
Yeah, I unusually concur. So I've given it 5 cups of Powerade out of 7.
Oh, right. Cups of blue Powerade.
They're all blue.
Oh.
Powerade is blue.
Oh, right. There's no green ones?
Not as far as I know.
What about pink?
No.
Just blue?
Just blue that I'm aware of.
Seems quite limiting.
It does, but there you go.
All right.
I didn't make it. I didn't even really consume it. It was grim. I was just aware of it in the zeitgeist of the 90s and 2000s.
Zeitgeist.
Yep. That's my word of the day.
What does that mean?
I'll let you look it up. Let's move on.
Unbelievable.
So that, folks, was all.
That's not how you say it.
That's all, folks.
If you have the time, we would really appreciate it if you could rate, review and subscribe. It really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Toodles.